All right, so get this. We've got terraforming Mars with glitter. Yeah, glitter.
Glitter.
Yeah, you heard that right. And we've got possible signs that Earth took a little dip in interstellar space a few million years ago.
Whoa, hold on.
And to top it all off, there's this ancient black hole that's basically rewriting the rules of astrophysics. It sounds like your reading list was a bit wild this week.
It was, yeah, pretty mind-blowing stuff. It really makes you think about, how much we still don't know.
Right, like we're always pushing the boundaries of what we thought we knew about the universe, and then bam, something like this comes along.
Exactly.
But okay, before we go full-blown space nerd, let's start with something a little closer to home. I'm talking about that article on synthetic butter made from CO2 and methane.
Oh, yeah, that one.
So the future of food could be a bit unexpected, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, what's really interesting here is how this technology could, address resource scarcity, especially in tough situations.
You're thinking like disaster relief, remote outposts, maybe even space missions? Okay, that makes sense. But, gotta ask, remember the whole margarine versus butter thing? Like, will people actually accept this?
Right, right. Public acceptance is going to be key. But unlike margarine, this new approach, it focuses on creating triglycerides,
Yeah.
the building blocks of fats.
So it's more like real butter, not just some chemical concoction.
Yeah, yeah, they're trying to mimic natural butter on a molecular level.
Hmm.
If they can, nail the taste and texture, it could be huge.
Huge for food security, resource management.
All that.
Okay, so from butter to bots.
Thoughts?
Yeah, you sent over some research on those micro drones powered by the sun and electrostatic propulsion. Are we talking near invisible drones that can just stay up there forever?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it's still early stage research, but the potential is pretty amazing.
I can already see the headlines. Tiny drones, Big Brother is watching you.
Well, yeah, there are definitely concerns about privacy and
Yeah.
potential misuse,
But
but
the ultimate double-edged sword, right?
exactly. But, there's also the potential for good. Like, imagine these drones being used to um, monitor the environment or for search and rescue.
Okay, that's a much better image. Speaking of balancing risks and rewards, you also highlighted those meltdown-proof nuclear reactors. Are those the answer to our energy problems?
The pebble bed reactor
I guess
design,
so.
it's definitely promising. It uses these fuel pellets coated in graphite, which, allows for better heat distribution and a self-shutdown mechanism if something goes wrong.
So these reactors are designed to prevent meltdowns, like those catastrophic ones we've seen in the past.
Yeah. While no technology is completely foolproof, the pebble bed design is a big step forward in terms of safety and efficiency.
All right, let's blast off and head into the cosmos now. You sent over a pretty cool article about Jupiter's Great Red Spot. Apparently, it might be a lot younger than we thought.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? Recent modeling suggests that the spot we see today might actually be relatively young, maybe only a few centuries old.
So the gas giant's most famous feature is like a cosmic teenager. That's wild. What does that even mean for, our understanding of Jupiter?
Well, it challenges our assumptions about how its atmosphere works. It raises new questions about like how these massive storms behave over time.
Speaking of challenging assumptions, you also shared that article about terraforming Mars with, wait for it, glitter. Is there actually, like, real science behind that idea?
It might sound crazy, but yeah. The basic idea is to use these clouds of tiny iron or aluminum particles to reflect sunlight and warm the Martian surface.
We're not talking about, like, dumping buckets of craft glitter on Mars, are we?
No, no, think more like a fine dust, spread high in the atmosphere.
Okay. But wouldn't that have some crazy environmental impact?
Oh, yeah. The long-term consequences would definitely need to be studied very carefully.
And the ethical implications of basically re-engineering an entire planet. That's a whole other deep dive waiting to happen. For now, though, let's talk about another fascinating discovery you shared. 55 Cancri, the super-Earth exoplanet. It has a thick atmosphere.
Yeah. It's a scorching hot world tidally locked to its star. Its year is only 17 hours long.
Whoa. Not exactly a vacation spot, then.
No, not really. Its atmosphere is probably mostly carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide.
Sounds lovely.
But the amazing thing is that it even has an atmosphere at all. Despite being so close to its star, it suggests that even planets in extreme conditions can hold on to or even regenerate atmospheres.
That's pretty huge for, our understanding of planetary formation and the search for life beyond Earth.
Absolutely.
All right, brace yourself for this next one because it's seriously mind-bending. You included research suggesting that Earth might have had a close encounter with an interstellar cloud a few million years ago, like an actual cloud from outside our solar system.
Yeah. The evidence comes from the presence of isotopes like plutonium-244 and iron-60. They're typically found in interstellar clouds and were deposited on Earth during this period.
So our planet went for a swim in a cosmic pool, and we're just finding out about it now. Did this interstellar encounter actually do anything to Earth?
It might have, yeah. Some scientists think it could have influenced Earth's climate and evolution. There's even speculation that it might have played a role in the development of early hominids.
Hold on, are we saying a random cloud from space might be connected to our very existence? That's wow.
It really makes you think about the interconnectedness of everything, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you also send over some research on a black hole that's kind of throwing a wrench in our understanding of astrophysics.
Oh yeah, the ancient one at the center of galaxy GN11. It's incredibly massive and incredibly old, almost as old as the universe itself, right?
Pretty much. It dates back to just 400 million years after the Big Bang,
Yeah.
which is incredibly early.
Yeah, that doesn't really fit with our current models of black hole formation, does it?
Not really. It's a bit of a mystery.
So how did it get so big so fast?
There are some theories, of course. One is that black holes in the early universe grew a lot faster than they do today. Another is that some black holes might have formed directly from the collapse of massive gas clouds.
Either way, it seems like black holes still have plenty of secrets. Let's shift gears now from the mysteries of space to the puzzles of life on Earth. You included some fascinating research on the chirality mystery.
Ah, yes. Chirality.
So for those of us who didn't ace organic chemistry, what exactly is chirality?
It refers to the handedness of molecules. You see, lots of molecules, like those found in DNA and amino acids, can exist in two mirror image forms, like your left and right hand.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
But life on Earth consistently uses only one form, and we're not entirely sure why.
So why does life prefer one hand over the other? Is there some, like, cosmic rule we're missing?
A recent lab accident might actually give us a clue. Researchers found that the chirality of cell membranes influences their permeability to certain molecules.
What does that mean?
It means that the specific chirality of life's building blocks might have been selected for early on, based on how they interacted with primitive cell membranes.
So it's all about which molecules fit together best.
You got it. And this discovery could be really important for understanding how life began on Earth, and even the possibility of finding life with different chirality out there in the universe.
Okay, that's pretty mind-blowing. Speaking of early life, you also highlighted some research on these bizarre ancient cells that are kind of rewriting the history books. They're from those microfossils found in those super old rocks, right? The 3.8 billion-year-old ones.
Yeah, those ones. These microfossils show signs of cells that didn't have cell walls, but did have internal structures, which is surprising because early life was thought to be much simpler.
So they were more complex than we thought. That's fascinating. Are there any, like, modern-day counterparts to these ancient cells?
Actually, yeah. Scientists have found something called L-forms. They live in harsh environments, like the
Okay.
Dead Sea.
It's like finding a living link to the very beginnings of life on Earth. And speaking of life, but in a completely different context, you included some research on virtual life forms, evolving in a computer simulation. Are we in the Matrix now?
Not quite. It's important to remember these are just computer programs, not actual living things. But researchers created this virtual environment where snippets of code could interact and evolve.
So like digital evolution.
Yeah. And they observed these self-replicating programs that competed for resources and even exhibited something like natural selection.
So computer programs evolving like living things, what can we even learn from that?
It gives us some insight into how complexity can arise from randomness, I think, and how information can evolve in unexpected ways.
Okay, from the digital world back to the real world, specifically the insect world. You shared an article about honeybees flapping ants with their wings, bees with martial arts skills.
It's amazing, right? We've known for a while that they fan their wings to blow ants away, but now we're seeing them use their wings for offensive moves, too.
So they're not just playing defense, they're going on the attack.
It just shows the incredible adaptations that can arise from competition in nature.
Speaking of battles, you also sent over research on ants performing surgery on each other. That sounds a bit intense.
Yeah, this one's pretty wild. Researchers studying Florida carpenter ants saw that they would amputate the injured legs of their nestmates.
They just like chop them off.
Well, they were very specific about it. only amputated legs with injuries in the upper part.
So there's a method to the madness.
Exactly. And the crazy thing is, the ants being operated on didn't resist. Like, they understood what was happening and trusted their nestmates.
That's wild. So what's the benefit of this ant surgery?
The study found that these amputations really reduced the death rate of injured ants, probably by preventing infection. It's a gruesome but effective form of medical care.
It's a reminder that even creatures we think of as simple can be incredibly intelligent and cooperative.
Absolutely. Now, let's jump from ants to Komodo dragons. You send over an article about their teeth. It could tell us something about how predatory adaptations evolved in reptiles.
You're talking about their iron-coated teeth, right?
Exactly. Researchers found that this iron coating, which probably helps make their teeth so sharp and durable, is also found in other monitor lizards and even crocodiles and alligators.
So could dinosaurs have had iron-coated teeth too?
It's possible. We may never find direct fossil evidence, but it's a fascinating possibility.
All right, from ferocious predators to a plant that could potentially survive on Mars. You sent an article about some special kind of moss.
Centrichia cananervis. It's known for surviving in extreme environments, like Antarctica and the Gobi Desert.
Tough stuff.
Researchers put it through a bunch of tests to simulate Mars. Freezing temperatures, intense radiation, a thin carbon dioxide atmosphere, low pressure. The whole works.
And it lived.
It did. It went dormant, but revived when they brought it back to Earth-like conditions.
So we could actually grow moss on Mars. What would that even mean for, like, future colonization efforts?
Well, it could be a source of oxygen, help stabilize the soil, maybe even provide building materials. It's definitely something to consider.
Okay, let's bring it back to Earth for a minute. You included a story about the last mammoths on Wrangel Island. What happened to them?
They went extinct about 4,000 years ago. Scientists looked at their DNA and found that their extinction was probably due to a bunch of factors, including environmental changes and genetic issues. But inbreeding wasn't the main culprit, like it often is with small, isolated populations.
So what was the final straw?
We don't know for sure, but it's thought that a sudden environmental change, like a shift in vegetation or some extreme weather event, might have been too much for them.
It's kind of a sad reminder that even the toughest creatures are vulnerable.
Definitely. And it underscores how important it is to understand and try to minimize our impact on biodiversity. But hey, let's not end on a downer. Your reading list included some pretty awesome scientific breakthroughs, too.
Right. We've got research on drilling into the moon to search for evidence of proton decay, recyclable water batteries.
It's a pretty exciting time to be following science.
It is. We're on the verge of some major advancements that could reshape our world. Buckle up, everyone, because we're about to dive into the world of cutting-edge science and technology.
It's going to be a wild ride. So let's dig into that project about drilling 5 kilometers into the moon. 5 kilometers.
Yeah, it's a pretty ambitious undertaking. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. What are they even hoping to find down there?
They're looking for evidence of proton decay. It's this hypothetical process, predicted by some theories that go beyond the standard model of particle physics.
Okay, hold on. We're getting into some pretty heavy physics here. Why is proton decay such a big deal?
Well, if protons actually do decay, it means that even seemingly stable matter might eventually just break down. Like, the universe has a built-in expiration date.
So the moon is like this giant laboratory for studying the fundamental nature of, like, existence itself?
You could say that. The moon's ancient, geologically stable. It's a perfect environment to search for those traces of proton decay.
And what if they actually find it? What happens then?
It would be huge, a monumental discovery. It would suggest that the universe as we know it isn't eternal, that even matter itself has a lifespan.
Wow. Okay, let's come back down to Earth for a minute. You also flagged that article about a new time zone for the moon. Does time really work differently on the moon?
It does. But the difference is tiny. Because of the moon's weaker gravity, time actually runs a little faster on the surface compared to Earth.
So how much faster are we talking? Would I notice if I was, hanging out on the moon?
You wouldn't feel it, no.
No.
But it's enough to affect the accuracy of lunar missions, especially those that need really precise landings and navigation. We're talking about nanoseconds per day.
So this new time zone is about keeping lunar missions on schedule. Literally.
Exactly. By accounting for these relativistic effects, NASA wants to improve the precision and safety of future missions, especially with, everything that's planned for the moon these days.
Okay, makes sense. From time zones to batteries, you sent over some research on recyclable water batteries. Water batteries? What's that all about?
They actually use water as their electrolyte, the substance that conducts ions between the electrodes.
But isn't water a terrible conductor of electricity? Like, that's why we're always told to keep water away from electrical appliances, right?
Right. Pure water isn't a great conductor. But in these batteries, it's mixed with a little bit of salt. And the really cool thing is, the electrolyte can be easily replaced, which extends the battery's life.
So, no more toxic waste from all those dead batteries. That's a big win for the planet.
For sure. And water batteries have other advantages. They're cheaper to make, they don't overheat as easily, and they don't rely on mining rare earth metals like lithium.
So, are they as powerful as the batteries we use now?
Researchers are still working on the energy density, but early prototypes are promising, especially for smaller devices and even for, grid-scale energy storage.
Okay, so from water batteries to batteries you can wear, you sent over some research on calcium-based batteries that could, like, revolutionize wearable tech.
Right. These batteries use calcium for the anode. It's abundant and inexpensive. And they're super flexible, lightweight, and can be woven right into fabric.
So, clothes that can power our devices. That's wild.
It is. It could really blur the lines between fashion and function. We might see a whole new generation of wearable tech powered by, what we're wearing.
All right, let's talk about those insect-sized robots. Are we talking about swarms of tiny robots that can, like, fly and crawl everywhere?
Researchers are getting really good at developing these micro robots, inspired by, how amazing insects are.
So they can move with incredible agility, even in tight spaces, like real insects.
Yep. The latest prototypes use mini actuators and advanced materials to mimic insect movement. Some can even flap their wings for controlled flight.
Okay, but how do you even power something that small?
That's one of the big challenges. Some are tethered to an external power source, others use tiny batteries, or even energy harvesting tech.
What about applications? How could we even use these tiny robots?
The possibilities are huge. Think about medicine. Minimally invasive surgery, targeted drug delivery, even diagnosing and treating diseases from inside the body.
So, no more scalpels and stitches, just swarms of tiny robots fixing us up from the inside.
It sounds a little freaky, I know, but it could be revolutionary. And think about manufacturing. Making complex structures on a microscopic scale. They could even be used in agriculture. Maybe help pollinate crops with the decline in bee populations.
From medicine to manufacturing to agriculture, it's a lot of potential impact.
Definitely. Now let's switch gears to that research on cloning a rhesus monkey. That's a major milestone in genetic engineering, but it definitely brings up some ethical questions.
It does. How do they even manage to do this? And, what are the implications?
They used a technique called somatic cell nuclear transfer. Basically, they transfer the nucleus of a donor cell into an egg cell that's had its own nucleus removed.
So they're creating a genetic copy of the monkey.
Exactly. And being able to do this with primates has huge potential for medical research. Imagine being able to study diseases and develop new treatments using genetically identical animals.
I see the potential, but it also feels a little ethically murky.
It is. We need to think carefully about the implications for animal welfare, the potential for misuse, and the broader impact on society. It's complicated.
It seems like every time we have a scientific breakthrough, there are new ethical dilemmas to grapple with.
It's part of the process, I think. As we push the boundaries of what's possible, we have to ask ourselves some tough questions, make sure we're using this knowledge responsibly.
You're right. It's not just about the what, but also the how and the why. Speaking of why, I've been thinking, we've been discussing all these mind-blowing discoveries, but are we overlooking the amazing things happening right in front of us?
It's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the big headlines, but there's so much wonder to be found in the everyday world.
We talked about bees slapping ants, but did you know that some bees can actually recognize human faces?
It's true. And they can remember those faces for days, even associating them with, positive or negative experiences.
So be nice to bees, everyone.
Exactly. And remember, those ants performing surgery. Some ants can carry 50 times their own weight. Their exoskeletons and muscles are incredible.
And their social structures, those colonies, it's like watching a miniature civilization unfold.
With communication systems, division of labor, even agriculture.
It's incredible to think about all the wonders that are happening all around us all the time. We just have to, pay attention.
Exactly. And these everyday wonders aren't just beautiful. They're vital. They give us clean air and water, food, medicine, all these ecosystem services we rely on.
It's like the universe is constantly putting on a show, whether we're looking through a telescope or just observing our own backyard.
And both are equally important, I think.
Yeah. It's easy to focus on the big picture and forget about the amazing details right in front of us.
Those smaller wonders can spark just as much curiosity, and they can give us a deeper understanding of how the natural world works.
I think it's important to cultivate that sense of wonder, that appreciation for the everyday, even as we explore space and all these scientific complexities.
I agree. That sense of wonder is what drives us to explore, to innovate, to
Hmm.
build a better future. It connects us to nature and reminds us of our place in, the grand scheme of things.
It's kind of like we've been on this whirlwind tour of scientific breakthroughs, from the depths of space to the microscopic world and everything in between.
It's amazing, isn't it? How much we're learning, how much we're pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible.
Right. And it's not just about, making these big, splashy discoveries. It's about changing how we view the universe, ourselves, even the everyday things we take for granted.
You're absolutely right. I think this deep dive has been a great reminder of that.
It has. It's easy to get caught up in the big, mind-blowing stuff, but sometimes the most awe-inspiring discoveries are the ones that remind us of the beauty and complexity of life right here on Earth.
Absolutely. Those bees that recognize faces,
Yeah.
the ants performing surgery. It's incredible to think about all the amazing things happening all around us.
Yeah.
We just have to pay attention.
Exactly. And those everyday wonders, they're not just fascinating to observe, they play a vital role in keeping our planet healthy.
Right. Clean air, clean water, food, medicine, all those things we rely on.
So yeah, maybe the next time we're feeling overwhelmed by the world or even just a little lost in the vastness of space, we should take a moment to appreciate those simple wonders.
I love that. Look at a snowflake, watch a firefly, observe an ant colony. It's a great way to reconnect with that sense of wonder.
And that sense of wonder, it's what drives us, isn't it? To learn, to explore, to make the world a better place.
It connects us to nature, reminds us that we're part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This deep dive has been an amazing journey, a journey through scientific discovery and what it means for us. Thanks for coming along for the ride.
It's been a pleasure, truly. Sharing these discoveries, exploring the wonders of science,
Mhm.
there's nothing quite like it.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to keep exploring the world around you. There's always something new to discover, no matter where you look. Until next time, keep diving deep.